how relevant is a Scrum certification these days, especially with recruiters? A lot of peeps getting
Mm.
certified seem to be without practical knowledge of Scrum or Agile.
It's interesting, Ryan. If I can slightly, I understand the undercurrent of people ripping on certs, right? That seems to be a broader thing. It's people just are like to go after and attack anybody that has a certification or attack the certification industry to begin with. It seems like I've seen a lot of stuff posted about that. It's funny because they post stuff about that, but then if you look at the products that they're building, it relates to hey, you go to this, you can pass the PSM2 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
like it's funny that's happening. Here's the thing: is the way that Scrum.org intended it, and the way that Pro Kanban is kind of following suit with, is that it's a validation that you've learned something, right? It doesn't mean that you can practically apply it, but something like a PSM1 is a validation that you at least know the very fundamentals of Scrum, right? That doesn't mean you know how to apply it. I understand that, but it knows you know them. Now, if you hop up to the PSM3 and you pass the PSM3, you probably know how to apply it, right? At that point. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple, but the grading system there is pretty difficult. That it's very practical and experiential. So I view the certification side of the house as validating learning. It
Yep.
doesn't validate practical experience. I think the only thing that really does is delivery and working on things. But I think when you get to some of the higher level ones, I would venture to say that there is some validation of experience there. What do you think, Ryan?
I think it's how I feel about a college degree. What a college degree shows is that you spent. I'm going to talk here in the United States. I'm not sure in other countries how it looks, but you spent 4 years studying a topic. You cared enough to show up, and that you're reliable. That you'll show up on a schedule. You'll study hard enough to pass. That you'll do the basics to learn a skill, and that's what it demonstrates. And I think with the Agile certifications, now there's some trash ones out there.
Yeah.
There's some garbage certs that we wouldn't touch or recommend at all. There's others, like, we truly believe that the Scrum.org series of assessments are excellent. The PSM1 is not trivial. People do not pass that, and people who are really smart and try hard don't pass that the first time. But to Todd's point, it demonstrates knowledge. The PSM3, I think, comes insanely close to validating experience as well, because I don't think, I was watching a podcast a few mornings ago where one of the, and I don't remember which one it was, but there's all these different learning journeys and different, um, third party Scrum groups. And one of their offerings is this pathway thing. And even the author of it admitted that what they're trying to teach is validated learning, but the PSM3 does a nice job of it too. And what's interesting, even about those validated learning tools, is that even at the end, they still have people take the PSM1 or the PSM2, like Todd mentioned, to
Mm-hmm.
validate knowledge. And so I think it's about the choice.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go the Scrum.org route, it's globally accepted. It's globally recognized as being a difficult, challenging, meaningful assessment and certification. And if anything, it opens a door, which is also how I view a college degree. It gets you past a check mark in an interview process and gets you to the really interesting stages of hiring. And so
Mm-hmm.
for those reasons, I think they're worth it. But can I look at a person with with just their certifications and say they're going to be great as a Scrum Master, product owner, developer? No. There's other, unless it's PSM3. I actually
Yeah.
would hire a PSM3 without too much debate, but otherwise, no, there's other things we would have to do to validate knowledge and to validate capability. What do you
Yeah.
think, Todd? Makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Can we just stop the war of it? Ugh.
I
Just get,
mean,
I mean,
when we're teaching a 2-day class, like this week, what do we have, Todd? We have professional Scrum with Kanban that we're doing with Dan Vicanti, right?
yeah, with Dan. Let's see if
Danger Dan.
yeah, let's see if I like Dan this week.
Well, and so when we're
Just kidding,
teaching
Dan. Love
that,
you, buddy. Not really.
not really. When we're teaching that class, and here I'll put a link to it if you all want to see what I'm talking about here. We're teaching this course. I'll throw this in the chat. We're not trying to teach you to pass an assessment. We are spending 2 days with all of you who are in the course, working with you on Little's Law and flow metrics and workflow definitions within a Scrum team, and all sorts of other things that are going to help you be a better practitioner. And a side effect of spending 2 days with us means that you should be in a good position to pass a test. But we're hoping that the impact of the class is far more than a certification hanging on your wall, that you're actually working with your teams in a more meaningful way. And so I think you got to look at who's doing your training as well, right? I think that's a big thing too. Some training providers teach to a test and they only think they're successful if you pass the test. Todd and I want to see a bigger impact on your team and your company. And I think there's differences there too.